Last year.
You got that, Matt?
No.
Got some for you. You have to request it at the governor's assistance on municipalities.
Children representative or
There's agendas up here if anybody needs an agenda. So you'll see that we lessen the volume. Budget cuts already. Check the seat size. Yes. materials he's brought a friend in. But I don't know if it's true or not. So,
I know. Like that.
There's no more house. Took care of the problem. No more house. They started doing it for a couple months now.
Ready for that?
all right.
I think so.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Thursday
She should be kind of freaking out, isn't she?
The one behind you.
Yeah.
No, she is.
I had a talk with her. She said that she had a problem with the plumbing upstairs, but that's been fixed now. She should be able to.
Pick out what you want to take, cut it in half, and then you have the
Exactly.
right amount. Hi, Joe.
Right.
And
It's not clean?
It's been cleaned.
Oh, okay.
And there's another one actually.
Well, South Vernon.
Oh, yeah, that one's.
I talked to him.
So now it's this one house.
Okay.
Sounds like you know where it's at.
I might.
Like a blue house. Facing Pleasant Street. Or not Pleasant, but I'll get you.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Very good. How's it going?
Unless you go back to
Good, you guys.
like the original house in Princeton, or a couple of the North Edition, those four straight out. It's really dangerous. I think you couldn't find another. What's no different than the three horses we have? If you keep using it, or use it as a non-conforming use, it's just continuous for a year, you lose the non-conforming exception. Yeah, that's what's happening with all the horses that are around one place. You know, the Ninjas across the street, I'm probably having No, not at all. Well, it's when you get ducks, I want to get geese next, that's what we should.
By the time noon came around, I could talk to his neuter.
I started with the seller on the real estate deal this morning, being an intensive care coach. No, myself.
Look at here now.
And I was thinking, thank God that came up over the weekend, she's there today, rather than in my office and then gets found out tomorrow.
Down to the black battery.
people missing something. But yeah, it should be picked up.
Well, it's sale for taxes, so taxes are already on the trust. Utilities, right?
Exactly.
So we still should notice.
I would think so. But the fact you didn't,
I know.
doesn't change a thing.
Yeah, I got it.
call this regular meeting to order. Call roll.
Mayor Querom.
Here.
Councilmember Newman.
Here.
Gomez. McCransky. McCall.
Here.
Please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So to get started tonight, do we have anybody here that has public comment that has nothing to do with chickens? Okay. So we got 3. Okay, so step up to the mic and take turns. Step up to the mic and we just need for you to say your name.
Marianne, you may have to push the button on the very top of the mic where the green light comes on.
Does that work?
There you go.
My name is Mary Ann Smith. I live at 846 Kings Cove here in Princeton. I'm here tonight to speak against the sale of property from Oakland Cemetery, currently under consideration. In the late 1960s, a portion of Greencroft subdivision was purchased by the city to expand Oakland Cemetery, creating lot adjustments and a dead end on the west end of Mayfair Drive. In recent years, homeowners bracketing that dead end have purchased land from the city to enlarge their lots. In the first case, it made sense because a sewer main with manholes made the land unsuitable for burials. In the second, it completed a barrier to illegal crossing of the open cemetery ground by vehicles launching at speed from Mayfair Drive. These 2 sales made sense. Last week, the city authorized a survey of the entire length of the west side of Greencroft in preparation for the sale of land to a third homeowner and creating additional 1/4 approximate acre plots along the length of the west side of the subdivision. I think this is a mistake that the board needs to address. The cemetery exists for future use. It was purchased for use as a burial ground. In recent years, attempts have been made to build a permanent fence to solidify that use. Since the platting of Greencroft, homeowners have purchased their lots with the understanding that it was a permanent extension of the cemetery, not available for development, and have valued their property as such. The proposed sale of land was done in secret. It has the appearance of trying to slip the sale through before anyone had a chance to study the rationale of the sale or the possible ramification of such a sale. We have questions. We are told that only adjacent property owners can purchase the lots. Is that in writing? Can the parcels be resold in whole or in part? Are the limitations as to what can be built there? Will this sale include parcels along the southbound boundary of Greencroft? Does the city really want a cemetery border that wiggles back and forth with the lot sales? What is the advantage to the city? What is the long-range plan for the cemetery? In short, the council has opened a Pandora's box of problems while negotiating a secret sale of property with no clear advantage to the city or the cemetery. I oppose the sale of cemetery property that is currently being considered. Thank you.
My name is Dave Schultz, and I live at 921 Bruce Lane, and I'm here because I would like to purchase up to was told we would be able to look at. I would like to consider purchasing some extra area. In my backyard, I have a little small shed, but I'm locked in by a fence line there, and I can't go within 5 feet of that property line. I need some extra storage space back there. I would like to fence out a little bit and add on to my storage building to provide extra storage for myself, plus give us a little bit better quality of life in our case there. I agree with some of the questions that Mary Ann said about the selling of parcels. In my case, and I believe all of my neighbors that I have spoken with would agree that we're not going to try to sell a quarter of an acre out there off of our property. That's not even a consideration. So what I would like to do is purchase that. I spoke with some people from the city. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I don't have a couple of lots like some of our neighbors do, or a big area that was already purchased out there away from the city. And I disagree that I don't know that it made a lot of sense to be able to do that for some people and not for others to be able to do that. I believe that this is something we should consider. I know for myself, if we are talking seriously about extra graves in there, I'd like to think that if those graves come all the way up to my fence, I'd rather that be a little bit further from the house as well. But I was not aware. I knew that it was going to be used for potential graves, but I was told it was like a pet cemetery or something like that. And all of that happened after I purchased my home. Anyway, one thing I do have a question about is when all of the other stuff took place with the gentleman that purchased the property, was that brought before the city council? I mean, how was that approved, and yet this cannot be approved? And he purchased a lot more than just a quarter of an acre out there. There's a significant amount of property. I've got it on my phone if you guys want to see it. He's got a nice little area back there. I can understand why he's not really interested in having his view from his house and his pool and stuff like that interrupted. But again, I don't know how that considers to be fair to anybody else that wants to expand upon their land and be able to add additional, in my case, just about another 10 foot on the building. Quarter acre, I don't know exactly how far it goes out, if that's what we're looking at, but it's not going to be an eyesore or anything like that to the city or anyone. And I believe that small section would not interfere with any way, shape, or form with the additional area needed for the cemetery.
My name is Tori Clark. I'm also a homeowner on Bruce Lane there in Greencroft, and would also be interested in purchasing the adjacent back behind my lot as well.
Forgive me, what's your name?
Tori Clark.
Tori Clark? T-O-R-R-I?
T-O-R-I.
T-O-R-I? Thank you. Clark with no E?
Anybody else have any public comment that's not associated with chickens? Okay, so then we'll go ahead and move on. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to have public comment, so I'm assuming there's people here that like to speak on chickens. If you spoke on chickens at our last meeting, and you don't have anything new to offer, we'd rather you not speak, so we don't take up a whole lot of time hearing what we've already heard. Those that are here that did not get an opportunity to speak or did not speak, you're more than happy to, more than welcome to come up to the mic, state your name, and you'll have about 3 minutes to say what you want on chickens. So once we get to the public comment and we go down through the agenda, if you have an agenda in front of you, you'll notice that number 6 on the agenda chickens. It's the ordinance that we passed 3 weeks ago on first reading. So it's up again tonight for a second reading. If the ordinance passes tonight, if this ordinance passes tonight, then the issue of chickens is resolved and they will be limited to agricultural zoned areas within the city limits of Princeton. If the ordinance fails, then this ordinance is a dead issue. And then we'll continue on with our regular business, and you'll see down at item number 9 on the agenda is another ordinance also on the raising of chickens in Princeton. And this ordinance has to do with grandfathering in those who have chickens. Will be grandfathered in. If that ordinance passes tonight, if it's read and it passes, then there will be a second and final reading in 2 weeks. If the ordinance fails tonight, then we're basically back to square one and go back to the drawing board. So that's just where we are going forward. So again, I'm going to open it up now for public comment on the issue of chickens to those who haven't had an opportunity to speak or would like to state your case. And all you need to do is come up to the mic, state your name, and go.
My name is Sharon May, and I have a packet that I'd like to hand to everyone, if that's okay. I think we have one from zoning. I don't know what's going on, so probably just put that one. And we can have these off during. Okay, once again, my name is Shannon May. I live on Eastmore Drive here in Princeton. I'm just going to kind of go over the basics of, or a quick version of what I have in this pamphlet, because I know we don't have a lot of time. So, some of the arguments against having chickens included the possibility of disease. I think that's what a lady pointed out at a zoning meeting, which is, I wasn't at the city council meeting, but I was at the zoning one. And I just wanted to speak a short bit on that. The first is the two diseases that are known or related possibly to chickens are Salmonella and Campylobacter. And I just wanted to speak on the Salmonella first. The outbreaks related to live poultry were linked to direct contact with poultry. And only those who were in direct contact would have come into contact with Salmonella. So it would not affect the general public. It would only affect the person who owns the chicken. In addition to chickens, other pets that include the possibility for Salmonella are turtles, hedgehogs, and lizards. And we don't have anything saying that we can't have those in town. The other places you can get Salmonella are onions, peaches, mushrooms, and other items that you eat. Many places have poultry available to feed and touch, including Tanner's Orchard and some of our local farms that our elementary school students visit. So if that's a concern, I would argue that should maybe not be considered a concern. And to speak on the Campylobacter, there are no reported outbreaks related to live birds in the United States. And of the things in the U.S. that the CDC says has been linked to that, it includes muddy water and pet store puppies, but no chickens. I also would like to point out that our Department of Public Health person has been in favor of chickens, and if it's a health concern, I would assume that he would direct you that take care of this issue. If someone were to say that, sorry, I get very nervous in front of people, so I'm really sorry. Chickens themselves do not attract rodents. Feed can attract rodents in the same way that dog or cat food can, or squirrel food or bird feeders, even garbage cans. It's no worse or no different. So that argues against that. And as a matter of fact, if you happen to have chickens, some will eat small snakes and rodents, so actually it could be a benefit. And they also eat ticks, mosquitoes, grasshoppers, and other pests. So I just want to throw that in there. As far as noise goes, that was an issue somebody had mentioned. The noise level for the squawk of a female chicken when she lays her egg, which is once in the morning usually, and not even during the winter sometimes, is only at 70 decibels. And some things that are also around that same noise level are a conversation between two people, so probably less than what I'm talking right now. And then also, at 70 decibels, we have things such as an air conditioner, a washer, and a flushing toilet, and that's as loud as they get. So it could just be that people don't understand that they aren't very loud. A dog and a lawnmower registers around 90 to 100 decibels. Someone else mentioned possibly smell, I think. And I just wanted to say that an average dog produces around a pound of waste per day, whereas a flock of 4 hens only produces less than half of that, at about 1.5 ounces of waste per hen. So 4 chickens can produce less waste than a medium house cat also. Plus, composted chicken manure can be used for composting. So that's another benefit. Any violations, like I said earlier, regarding any of these nuisances are already covered in our ordinances, although I believe that the running at will ordinance specifically says dogs, so possibly you could just change the word to animal. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. Okay, chickens and property values was something else that was mentioned. And I wanted to say that there is not one documented case that a home property value decreases because of a flock next door. In truth, some realtors and home sellers are offering free coops with every sale, and it emphasizes the value of free neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, Janelle McCarter, who is with Landmark Realty and one of the top sellers here in Beaver County, has attested to this, and she told me that she sent an email so that you guys know. Really quick with regards to food security, both FEMA and the Red Cross recommend each household keep a supply on hand, food and water in case of an emergency. And I just wanted to let you know, last year, a carton of 60 eggs in May went from $4 a carton to over $13 a carton. So that's one more benefit of having chickens at your home. Pretty sure we all know that supply chain issues are still a problem in the U.S. In the whole world. Chickens as pets, most people that I've spoken with that own chickens in town feel of them as pets, not as a farm animal. They're part of the family. As a matter of fact, my niece was able to raise a chicken last year during COVID. She suffered mental health issues, and this chicken helped her. During late June of last year, 40% of U.S. adults reported struggling with mental health or substance abuse, so that is another benefit of keeping chickens. Backyard chickens are overwhelmingly allowed in the United States. Nearly all of 150 largest cities in the U.S. are okay with chickens. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and we were allowed to have chickens. We were also allowed that one. Well, anyway. I think that's kind of the main points that I wanted to make. And anybody have a question?
This is strictly public comment.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
attorney Holly Harris. I live here in Princeton and own and operate a law firm here in Princeton. And I never thought I'd address this board on a chicken issue. I don't own any chickens, but I do own property, and I do believe that animals are property. And as an American, an Illinoisan, and a Princeton native, I have the right to that property, and I have a desire to maintain that right, free from the interference from this or any other board or body. This idea is a fundamental part of being an American, the American ideal of less law, not more. The U.S. Constitution under the Fifth Amendment and the Illinois Constitution under Section 2 describe the innate and inalienable right to own, possess, and keep property. Our land qualifies as this property. Animals under Illinois statute qualify as this property. These rights cannot be infringed upon without specific authority. More specifically, Princeton falls under non-home rule. This means this board can only exercise powers for which they have express authority as provided by state law to do so. You are dependent on obtaining the grants for that authority from the General Assembly or Governor. So under that, what authority could this board possibly think to put limits on my innate rights to own property? I'm sure we will hear thoughts on the health, safety, and welfare of the public, but I urge you to deeply consider the validity of this path, for this authority acts as a double-edged sword. Not only does this board lack any substantial facts, research, or data to suggest chickens are a danger to the Princeton people's health, safety, or welfare. That actually, as we've heard here tonight, and you each have a booklet in front of you, we've got information quite to the contrary, and our public health and safety council member here has clearly not made any objection as it being a process that will affect the public health, safety, and welfare. There are very precise and eloquent arguments that have been made before this board, and not just tonight, but the previous zoning and board meetings on the chicken issue, that actually argue there is no health or safety risk to Princeton. And I would argue that that double-edged sword suggests there's actually the public health, safety, and welfare protects our argument as landowners that it's actually for our public health, safety, and welfare that we should be allowed to own chickens. It actually protects us, not the board's right to interfere with our property rights. Chickens are an essential benefit to many of the town people's health, safety, and welfare, and that they provide economic relief, pet-like social relief, aids to mental stability, a substantive food benefit in times of need, be it in the past, now, or in the future. This double-edged sword works only to destroy any attempt by this board to regulate my God-given and that of the other townspeople innate and inalienable rights to my property and to theirs. I would urge this board to diligently consider protecting the American rights and values of the constituents who voted you on to this board. I suggest that the laws long in place, as discussed by Ms. May in front of this board, adequately protect any issues that would arise out of chicken ownership in Princeton. I would further urge this board to consider that just because there are a few phone calls of complaints over chicken issues, that they deeply, deeply consider what that may lead into. Next week, is it going to be that somebody doesn't like the sound of my dog's bark, or the color of my dog's hair, or the bike that my child rides outside? When you go down this slippery slope and you start limiting people's property rights without facts to back it up that support the safety, welfare, and health of the people, you're entering into a very, very dangerous area. Thank you.
Live here in town, like pretty much everybody else here. You'd be well served to remember this is a farming community, and pretty much everybody in this room is from it. I'm going to kind of make this interaction a little bit here. How many here are in your 30s? Or in your 40s? 50s? I see everybody up there looking old. You're not going to carry this town through the future. It's been this way a long time. I grew up in this town. I had a house where we had a horse that lived in it because it was grandfather day. Came right up into our house. So why is it a big deal? Because one person's got a problem with their neighbor? Get rid of it.
This is my daughter, Aaliyah. She gets a little nervous. I'm gonna try. Okay.
What are your names?
Your names, both of them.
Aaliyah Schutz, and I am Tina Schutz. And we live at 620 Park Avenue West. We bought the house about a year ago. We have 3 children, Malachi and Savannah are back there. And they do have some chickens. And we live on more than an acre, close to an acre and a half. The one dream she had is to have chickens, maintain her own business. She's 13. You complain that children have no value nowadays, that they don't respect, they don't have compassion. But anytime that you, like this child has, you want to take that away from my child and other children in this town that have compassion for these animals and take care of these animals. Physically, mentally, this is abusive. This is also discrimination because these are her pets. Not just what she wants to do for her business, these are her pets. This is no different than somebody with a cat or a dog. They don't run the streets. A dog makes more noise than a chicken. I can tell you, I can stand in my backyard and hear a good dozen dogs at night. Are you complaining about that? Or are you talking about taking those dogs away? No. You're discriminating against an animal. Don't complain that children do not have responsibility, respect, and compassion, because the ones that do, you're taking it away from them. This child is phenomenal with these chickens. I've not seen a child of this age take care of an animal the way she is doing and taking the responsibility. She is up at 6 a.m. willingly to be out there to take care of these animals. Not running the streets, not causing trouble, not vandalizing. She's also an honor student, highly intelligent, artistic girl. And taking her chickens away is punishing her for selfishness and discrimination. Just for the handful of people that are complaining about everybody that has chickens. I've walked around this town, I've driven around this town, and I can say I didn't even know there were other people with chickens, let alone ducks. I don't hear them, but I hear dogs. Are you going to take them away? How about the smell that I've walked past houses, and I can smell the dogs? Are you going to take them away? I doubt it. This is a form of discrimination. And I would be very disappointed in a town that I purchased a house a year ago that would sit here and take away from children that are doing something positive in this community, because she is starting her own business. I've already bought her stuff for her business. So you're going to take your company away at 13. Tell me how many of you know a 13-year-old child starting a company on her own with her own money. So before you go taking away animals away from these children, please consider the mental abuse that you are creating to these children that will carry them on not just through today, tomorrow, years to come. Thank you.
Please spell your last name.
S-H-U-R-T-S.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Adam Gushi, A-G-U-S-H-I, I live on Park Avenue West in town. I'm not here today because I'm fiercely pro-chicken or pro-duck. I'm here because I'm pro-free country.
Want to take your minutes?
Sure. It's an overwhelmingly conservative community, all in favor, vast majority executed by people. It's not like someone's asking to have a lion or something that's genuinely dangerous. It's just someone's individual freedom. And we're wasting all of this time and resource, overstepping our bounds of small-town local government, reaching out and oppressing people's individual freedoms, like was explained in their property, merely because of the loudest complainer. We have individuals that don't want others to have them. And like was just mentioned, I'm not a fan of dogs. They're very loud, they can be annoying, but I would never have the audacity to step in here and say, I expect people to get rid of them because I personally don't like them. So I'm aware that I live in a free society, in a free country. I would never expect that. And I think that we've lost touch with what the actual issue is because of, again, the loudest complainer, where we need to say, sometimes just go, yep, you don't like them, it's a free country, deal with it, as opposed to wasting taxpayer money and resources to debate what shouldn't be an issue in this community, in this country.
Spell your last name again.
A-G-U-S-H-I.
Thank you.
My name is Garrett Duffin. I wasn't sure if I was going to speak today. There have been so many good points brought up. But I just want to bring up a few things from this new compromise. First off, actually, I want to start off by thanking Councilmembers McCall, McCransky, and Newman for responding to my long email, and Mayor Querum. We had quite a few exchanges via Facebook Messenger. Some of those from me, borderline disrespectful, so I'd also like to apologize for that. So, first and foremost, I just wanted to say, like, the compromise on Facebook, something that really stood out to me about posting that compromise on Facebook, and something that I really appreciated, was that at the end, Mayor Querum asked for public thoughts on the new compromise. And in that same breath, I wondered why it took so long for public opinion to be actively sought out. I understand we all have the opportunity to come speak at city council meetings. We all have the opportunity to reach out via email. That's not an easy thing to do for a lot of people, myself included. Multiple people have talked about how difficult public speaking is for them. I think it should have been more actively sought out for public opinion on this matter. The second point that I'd like to point out is this compromise proves that you guys feel regulating chickens is a possibility. That is a feasible thing. So I guess I question why we're making it specific to current chicken owners. Why we're dumbing it down into, if you have them, you can keep them, and we can regulate it, but if you don't have them, you can't get it because we don't know how to regulate it. If we know how to regulate it, you should just be able to have chickens. Back to the point that was just made is my third point. I'm not transitioning very smoothly here. But this goes beyond, for me, this goes beyond chickens. I mean, I love my chickens, but more than that, it's just that space that I can go in my backyard. If I'm having a frustrating day or a stressful day, I can go sit out with my chickens and meditate with them. I created that space with my brother in the middle of COVID. We were having a tough time with not doing anything, locked in the house. We decided, let's go build a fence for some chickens in the backyard, and that's what we did. We got the help of a few neighbors who not only didn't complain, were active members in the creation of our chicken area for our chickens, and have since reaped the benefits with eggs. The kids next door come around regularly to come play with the chickens, feed them and such. I mean, I'm not saying that we should be able to do whatever we want in our backyard. I'm not raising a petting zoo, but got a few chickens in the backyard that I go out and enjoy occasionally. I don't see a big deal. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Galandi, and we have ducks and chickens. They're my children's pets. My kids are 17, 14, and 10. When we first heard word of mouth that they were going to take the chickens away and the ducks away, my 3 kids ran to the backyard and sat with them in their lap for hours, petting them, and I guess talking to them, because we go out in the yard and say, hey ducks, and they start quacking at you. They know you're there. And it is true, if you raise a little tiny yellow duckling, it will follow you around like you're its mother. And they follow my 17-year-old boy around when he's in the yard. They recently went on vacation with their dad, and I stayed home because I had to work, and each morning the kids would call me, wake me up and call me and say, did you get out there? Have you checked on the chickens? You know, how are they doing? And they know them by name. And I'm like, which one's that? But they know, and asking me how big have they gotten? Because a couple of them were tiny when they had left. No, they shed feathers by now. My son is in high school. He could write a research paper on them and each different kind that there is. So he loves them. He would be here tonight, but he got called into work. And he goes, please go. Please say something. We love them. They're very clean animals, actually. They want to be bathed. They don't like to be dirty. If you put a pool out, they will jump right in that water and clean themselves and strut around and groom their feathers. So they enjoy being clean. Someone else mentioned to me that fines are inappropriate as there are no such fines for other things for dogs barking. I don't think I personally have ever heard of a fine for a dog barking. Maybe you might get told, quiet your dog down, but I don't know of any fines that I've heard about. I know three of my neighbors didn't even know I had chickens. One is an elderly lady, and we were just talking yesterday. She signed a petition. She goes, I think it's lovely that your kids have that to do. Another question was, what if you move to another address? Can I not take my chickens to that address if I get grandfathered into the address that I'm at now? But just to remember that they're pets. You have a lap dog, you have a lap duck, or a lap chicken, because kids really do hold them, and they love them. The ordinance that you were referring to, I think you said was number 9 on the list, that if it gets voted tonight, you'll vote on it again, is excluding ducks altogether. I'd like to know why. I've asked on Mayor's Facebook page numerous times, never get a response. Other people have asked, no responses. Someone's commented, how come Jennifer's question isn't being answered? Why are ducks being excluded? Poultry is not much different than a chicken. Same type of living quarters, similar food, treats, similar noise. Ours are more spoiled than my kids. They get to come inside during the colder months and take baths and sit in front of the fireplace and warm up. They're a part of the family. It's not just an animal we have outside that we tend to every once in a while. They're daily animals that we have to take care of. Few issues with the regulations that might go into place if you pass the grandfathering in the chickens. Why only the current chicken owners, like was just addressed? If new people want to move to town, they're not allowed to have animals on their property. That's not right. If I want to buy a house on the north end of town that's not grandfathered in, I can't have my animals there. I don't agree with that. I know you're putting a limit on how many birds family can have at their residence, which, sure, if you're going to do regulations, you have to have a number. Your number right now is 6. What about the families who have more than 6 chickens right now? They have, I think last meeting, someone said they have 14 or 15 chickens. Are you expecting them to downsize their flock? Another regulation you're wanting is that the herds must be in their enclosure at all times. Why can't I have my ducks in my fenced-in backyard? My property is fenced in. We're out there. They're protected. They're not getting into the neighbor's area. So how can you tell me how I need to have them enclosed? They have an enclosure, but they like to come out when we're cleaning their enclosure. They come out. They hang out in the backyard. They graze. They follow us around. They don't go too far from us. Actually, if you let them out of their coop, they run straight to the fenced-in backyard because they know, hey, it's running around time. We're going to go up there. We're going to graze. We're going to pick bugs. We're going to eat grass. We're going to get our treats and our peas. They know right where to go. Without a doubt, they go straight to the backyard. So I don't agree with them having to stay within their coop.
Another regulation you talked about was a city rep would have to come onto my property to check the parameters of the building enclosure for these chickens and ducks. Do you guys go onto the properties of the dog and cat owners and check their houses to make sure they have special regulations that fit their dog and cat's needs? You also mentioned that if issues were found, someone violated one of your regulations, and issues were found, there would be a fixed amount of time for those violations to be fixed. What's the time frame? This person gets a couple days, that person gets a week. There's no time frame on your regulation, so I think that should be addressed. Does anyone know if we have fines in place for dogs running at large? I don't know where the fines of the 200, 500, and 750 for chicken, duck, poultry. Don't know where those fines came from, where the numbers pulled from. Do we have fines for other animals in town if they're running at large? Are they comparable to these fines, or are the fines just being marked up too high so people try to avoid just having the chickens altogether because they don't want to have to deal with fines? You mentioned that a building permit would be needed, and we would have to pay for that. But you didn't mention what the building permit with fees would be. Also, a few of us got together and got petitions out there over the last couple weeks, and I've got probably a little over 150 signatures that are in favor of chickens and ducks in town. Is anyone here against chickens and ducks tonight? Again, this is at least the third meeting I've been to where no one's come to argue against having these animals in town. Pretty sure that speaks for itself.
Anybody else? Anybody else like to speak?
Untitled Chapter.
BROADUS. I'm just here for moral support.
Can you spell that one more time?
BROADUS. She did this all on her own. I came home from the last one and she decided to do this.
Okay.
So,
Can you pull the mic down a little bit?
my dad has chickens at his house, and my grandma raises chickens out on her farm. And I like to help her raise them, and I like to help them. And they're like my friends. They like to, whenever I'm jumping on the trampoline, they go up there with me. Whenever I'm running around, they chase me. And a few months ago, my mom's a mail carrier, and she was on her mail route. And when she was driving, she saw something out in a cornfield, and she found a chicken that was there alone because somebody dumped him off in the cornfield. And I feel like if we have to do that, more people might do that to their chickens. I know that
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Allison Pitts, and I'm also a chicken owner in Princeton. And I'm in favor of chickens and ducks just because I also do not see much of a difference in the types of poultry. So I just wanted to state that I think that anyone who has ducks should also be able to keep their ducks. And they also can make good flock mates for chickens. So you can have a mixed flock of chickens and ducks. Other than that, as a couple people have said already, we already have ordinances pertaining to noise and foul odors and animals running at large. I feel like if we can all comply to those ordinances, I don't feel that we should have any other regulation. Or I heard mentioned too, perhaps we could go by a case-by-case basis, which, maybe there is someone out there who is causing problems with their chickens, and then perhaps they could be addressed with the person who is complaining or whatever. But thank you for your time, and good luck.
Anyone else? Going once? Going twice?
I'll say really quickly while I spoke. I referenced the personal freedom. I want to really just call attention to the amount of children that have come up, the parents that have brought them up, who love their animals. They don't want to lose their animals. And we're really debating taking loving animals away from children just because some other people don't like it, which is just the same thing.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and close public comment on chickens. There's also an opportunity to stick around for a public comment at the end of our meeting as well. Does anybody have any public comment on anything other than chickens? Cover all? Okay, so we're going to move ahead and we'll go to the approval of minutes and Commissioner Newman.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve the minutes from our regular council meeting on August 16, 2021. Second.
Motion's been second. Corrections? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Abstain.
McCransky.
Aye.
McCall. Aye. Mayor Querem.
Aye. We'll go to the approval of invoices and City Clerk Nelson.
In the Department of Accounts and Finances for this period, we have invoices totaling $121,539.43. In the Department of Streets and Public Improvements, we have invoices totaling $106,669.82. In the Department of Public Safety, we have invoices totaling $113,553.33. In the Department of Public Property and Utilities, we have invoices totaling $243,726.15 for a grand total of $585,488.73. Mayor, all council members have reviewed these invoices and they are submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve the invoices as presented.
Second. Motion's been second. Comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCransky.
Aye.
McCall. Aye. Mayor Querem.
Aye. Now go to regular business and City Clerk Nelson.
Next item on the agenda is Ordinance O-21-020. This is an ordinance regulating the raising of chickens or other fowl within the city corporate limits. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this. This is the second reading and final reading. All council members have reviewed this ordinance and it is submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve Ordinance O-21-020. Second.
Motion has been second. Comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCransky.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Mayor Mayor Querom.
No.
Next item on the agenda is ordinance O-21-021. This is an ordinance pertaining to the coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund. This is the second and final reading. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this ordinance and it is submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve ordinance O-21-021. Second.
Motion has been seconded. I'm going to let Teresa give an update.
As I mentioned at the last meeting, this is just the verbiage that we are agreeing to the terms and conditions of the funds. I will note that we did finally, as what they call a non-essential unit of government, or not an NEU form of government. It sounds awful when you say non-essential. We did receive our first installment because the installments come from federal government to the state down to the local, whereas if you're a municipality over 50,000, it came directly from the feds. So we did receive our first installment, which was $507,615. So we'll get that same amount again next year. So.
Your motion has been seconded. Any additional comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye. Yes.
Thank you. McCransky.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Mayor Querom.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is ordinance O-21-022. This is the second and final reading for an ordinance that is a replat of Hudson West subdivision, lot 51. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this ordinance and it is submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve ordinance O-21-022. Second.
Motion's been seconded. Comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCransky.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Mayor Querom.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is ordinance O-21-023. This is the second reading. I'm sorry. The first reading. This is the first reading, even though it says second on my books here. This is the first reading of an ordinance setting standards for the raising of chickens and other fowl within the city limits of the city of Princeton. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this ordinance and it is submitted for disposition.
I move that we advance ordinance O-21-023 to the second reading. Second.
Motion's been seconded. A couple things before we vote on this. The reason why we're all here tonight is because the city of Princeton for decades has not allowed chickens in residential neighborhoods in the city of Princeton. This has gone back decades. So when we started receiving complaints, we are required to follow up on it and look into it and address the issues. So when I put stuff out on Facebook, that again is why we are all here tonight. I didn't put stuff up on Facebook. This probably would have come before the council and would have passed and nobody would know anything about it. So I put this information out there so everybody, if you want to be as transparent as I can, putting this information out there, what we're looking at, what we're addressing, and what we're offering. And it, generally it's very well received. I've gotten away from responding to people on Facebook because I don't want to get into a back and forth with individual people. That's what you come to the meeting and we can have discussions about that, but on Facebook I don't really want to get into the response. I do once in a while to clarify somebody's, they may have said something that they weren't clear on, and I'll offer a clarification. We've heard from a lot of people in the last 3 weeks, all of us up here. We've received emails, we've received phone calls, we've received messages, right up until the meeting today on this issue. We've heard from a lot of people that are pro-chicken. We've heard from a lot of people that don't want chickens. So, I want to say, 3 weeks ago, Ray Mabry was here, and he was up speaking about chickens and his support for chickens. And he developed Park Place subdivision. And he doesn't allow chickens in Park Place. And he lives in a duplex. And they don't allow chickens in the duplex. Now, I bring that up because Ray's position is he's okay with chickens as long as they're not in his backyard. And that is generally what I hear from people that don't want chickens. They don't have a problem with chickens, generally. They just don't want to live next door to someone with chickens. Now, they have their reasonings. I don't debate with them their reasonings. They have their reasons. So that's kind of what we've been faced with. We've heard about a lot of of people in the last 3 weeks on this. You know, and it's not just Park Place that doesn't allow chickens in the city of Princeton. Neither does Sunset Prairie, Bryant Woods, Greencroft. You know, you go out to the condominiums on East Thompson Street. They don't allow chickens. They have covenants. You can even go out to Timber Ridge, out in the country. They don't allow chickens because of covenant in their subdivision. So there's a lot of, you know, issues that play into this, but this isn't something, this whole issue is not easy for us. You know, we have to address the issue. We have to look at all sides. We have to take into consideration, you know, what we're dealing with. And there's a lot of people that are not, they don't want chickens. I agree with everybody in here. There's a couple comments that, you know, we've been here for 3 meetings now, and, you know, there hasn't been anybody here to speak out against chickens. And the emails that I have received from people that don't want chickens, they don't want the voice. They don't want their names out there. They don't want their names out there because they're afraid of the backlash they're going to get. And a lot of that came from the food truck ordinance, especially on social media. So, but they're out there. We've all heard from them. So, 3 weeks ago we heard about compromise. People wanted a compromise. Because the ordinance that we had 3 weeks ago that we just voted down tonight only limited the chickens to agricultural zone areas. So people came together, they spoke out, and we spoke about compromise, and we voted to pass that ordinance on, knowing that we're going to have a second ordinance reading tonight, but we wanted to see what else we do. We came up with a compromise. And the compromise is this ordinance that is under consideration right now. So I'm going to let anybody else up here speak.
Okay, obviously, I wasn't here last meeting, but something to address as far as being for public health. That they talked about salmonella, they talked about campylobacter, and right, there hasn't been any outbreaks. There has been cases. Most of the outbreaks that range from salmonella are actually from produce that has been washed with contaminated water where they are produced. Most of those are not in there. I visited one of the places that has chickens the other night, and they were very content, very clean. They were closed. They had something right over them where allowed them to stay where they are. One of the other things that I've also noticed, and me having raised a chicken when I was a little kid that my parents gave me, actually brought in a lot of responsibility and as far as a pet, that the chicken would follow me around and do everything else. And when it was time for that little bird to go, I was devastated. But some of them are considered with as far as emotional support animals, just like anything else, because they can be trained. They can be companions for people, especially with depression and anxiety. And not only that, but I also heard about children that are taking an act and actually doing something constructive, something they enjoy, and also companionship. And so, knowing all that, I believe that as far as mental health goes, they can help a lot of people, just like a dog and a cat. I've had more nuisance with things that from dogs barking constantly. I don't complain about it because I deal with it because people should have the right to be able to go and have those animals. One of the things about this ordinance is that if you grandfather something in, basically what it does, it actually kills anybody else from having any chickens because it actually kills them with attrition. Little by little, when people stop having them or they move on, you basically give that away. And I believe that there's something in there that it is a right for somebody to have something like that as long as it doesn't get out of control. They keep it clean and they take care of them. I was going to say something else. Let's see. Also, there's something that is to be said for cities and towns that they want to move forward. One of the things that I know is that things change from the time, like we were just being called home a little while ago. Things will change, and you have to be able to adapt, not only as a city but as a community, to be able to hold that. We have younger generations that like to do other things besides just chickens, like to have dog parties, like to do things. And if you stop that from happening, you basically stop the progression of your town, where people will look somewhere else. Thank you.
I think it changed a lot of minds 3 or 4 weeks ago when he came to talk to us. I think that we have learned a lot from the phone calls and emails that we received. And that's where I think that's what makes this compromise, I think, something that is fair and it's equitable and it's a good place to begin. Grandfathering, I think, is a good idea. And when it's grandfathered and where we don't necessarily want additional chickens to come to town, that part of the ordinance protects those people that are against chickens. We have people that have this house of their dreams, and the last thing they want is to have someone move next door to them that might upset this house of their dreams environment. We have to listen to folks that have issues like this, and we want to address them, and we have to listen to what they have to say, just like we've listened to you folks. So I think this is a good plan, I think it's a good start, and I think it's worthy of approval.
I had about 24 people reach out to me prior to the meeting tonight. 12 and 12, I counted everything up before I came. At 12 for, 12 against. I counted the calls I had before, people that showed up within city limits last week, 20 to 20. So it is a 50-50 thing. I think the problem that I run into, that I struggle with a little bit, is that a lot of people don't want to respect other people's decisions or their opinions because that's not their way. Well, that's what we're here for, is to listen to both sides. So starting into this, and I think I made that clear beforehand, that I was against them when I ran for this, because a lot of people reached out to me. Were we uneducated? Yes, absolutely we were uneducated. After talking with everybody, I think starting this with a compromise of this grandfathering is the way to go. A comment, Garrett, you had mentioned about asking for public comment earlier. We're here 24/7 for that. Yes, he put it on Facebook for that, but this has been out there too. We're always available for that. That's what we're here to do. So that's, I just want to, you and I had a pleasant email conversation back and forth. I appreciate you reaching out, and everybody that reached out, I appreciate that. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we need to hear. There's been a lot of comments about dogs. People bring up dogs constantly since the start. Why are we regulating? Why would we have to have someone in and register our chickens? You got to register your dog. Dog has to have rabies shots, and guess what? You got to pay for that. We're not asking anybody to pay for it. We're just asking to know who's got them, so we can have that on record, and that's all registered in here. So it's totally different than, the thing about nuisance and things like that. I'm sure there's going to be fines if it becomes an issue. That, the whole point of this saying that this or that doesn't happen when someone else does, but that's not the issue at hand right now. The issue at hand right now is the chickens. So I just wanted to kind of address that a little bit also. I think this is a good compromise. I think it's been received very well from the public as a whole, the compromise. It takes nothing away from anybody, which definitely something that I think in the end none of us wanted to do that once we kind of getting more educated about it. So that's where my stance is right now. So I'm going to approve moving this forward.
So I too received a lot of emails when we started to solicit or talk about the chickens. So before that, I had nearly a 10-to-1 against the people that I had talked to in the community. So I had been on the side of what I said I ran on, which was against the chickens. But as time has gone on, I've received quite a few emails. And overall, I think I still have a larger amount of people that are against having chickens in the backyard. So, and I
this ordinance allows everyone who has chickens currently to keep their chickens. And, people that want to register, which would be a good idea, would be the thing to do. We have 60 days to do so. We know, who we are and where the chickens are. just so we have that information available. So we don't want to have a complaint and then come out and end up finding somebody that we don't, that unfortunately didn't take time to register, because they will get fined and they'll have to lose their chickens. So it's important that people register. It's not going to cost anything. It's just a database, nothing more. So going forward, it's true that the ordinance does not allow any new chickens going forward. We ran into the same thing, or we didn't, but the city did many years ago when they regulated or passed an ordinance on horses. It also was a land use ordinance, so people had horses in town, they could keep their horses, but as they dropped off and those horses were not on the property for a year, that property could no longer have horses. And today we still have horses in the city limits of Princeton because they've been on those properties for the last, I think it was back in 1970 or somewhere around there when that ordinance was passed. So, you can be without chickens on your property for up to 12 months. If you reintroduce them, you're fine. You can keep them. But they are for the current home, where you currently live. Again, it's a compromise. That's what we talked about 3 weeks ago. That was the overriding, concern, and we're totally open to that. And these meetings have been very useful for us. And the messages and phone calls that we have received over the last 3 weeks have also been very useful for us. So we feel that we are on the right course here. And I also agree with passing this ordinance on to the second reading, which would be held in 2 weeks. Any other comments?
I just wanted to say also one of the other ones that was ducks, one of the calls that I received. And I've known a few people that have ducks. Most of them live out in the country around, but there's some people around here that have them. They also can be very funny, and it can be emotional support for some people. The person asked for me to say something as far as the ducks. So I've never had ducks before myself, but I do hear from some of the people that have them, and it can be very enjoyable.
Anything else? Any further comments? Okay, the motion has been seconded. Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
Say it again.
No.
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 McCransky.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Mayor Querom.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is the requirement for a second reading be suspended for ordinance O-21-024. It's an ordinance amending the city code for the operation of mobile food and beverage vendors. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this and it's submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve ordinance O-21-024. Second. I'm sorry. I'm approving the suspension of the requirement for the second reading of O-21-024. Second.
Okay, so the motion has been seconded. The reason what we're doing here is we passed a food truck ordinance a few months ago, and it was a very lengthy ordinance. There was a lot to it. It was worked on multiple times, and this is what happens with ordinances sometimes, that you come back and you make amendments. And one of the things we had in that ordinance was that there would be no food trucks allowed anywhere in the city of Princeton during the Homestead weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The intent was to make that no food trucks on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday Homestead on public property, not business property. So we don't want to be telling businesses they can't have a food truck on their property during Homestead. So Homestead is just a couple days away. We don't have time for a second reading, so that's why we're doing the suspension. Any comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCransky.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Mayor Querom.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is ordinance O-21-024, amending the city code for operation of mobile food and beverage vendors. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this ordinance and it is submitted for disposition.
Okay, now I'll do it. I move that we approve ordinance O-21-024. Second.
Motion's been seconded. Comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCransky. McCransky?
Aye.
McCall? Mayor Querem?
Aye.
Oh, I gotta go one more thing. Next on the agenda is Resolution R-21-020. This is a resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract for the Park Avenue West storm drainage replacement, awarding to Superior Excavating of Manuka, Illinois. Mayor, all council members have reviewed this resolution and it is submitted for disposition.
I move that we approve Resolution R-21-020.
Second. Motion's been seconded. Comments? Teresa?
Just to note, this is a rebid. We did go out for bid, and the bid came back a little bit higher than we anticipated. We thought maybe we'd get a little bit better of a bid on the second time around. Still a little higher than what we had estimated for the engineer's estimation, but Superior did have the low bid at $182,701. We had a total of 3 bids come in for that project. Again, this is the Park Avenue Storm Sewer Project, which everybody knows when we get heavy rain, that tends to flood. It's a bad area. It's been that way. Clint will attest to this. It needs to get done. What actually is happening with the ARP money, the American Rescue Funds I just talked about a little bit ago, we are able to use those funds for this project. So it's kind of a saving grace and getting this one taken care of. So now's the time to do it. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than we anticipated, but given the cost of supplies, it's just what we're facing, so.
And this location is at Greencroft entrance in front of the Park Avenue. And that's where it's really gets bad. So that is going to be taken care of very soon, actually, within weeks. So that motion or the resolution's been second. Comments? Call roll.
Councilmember Newman?
Aye.
Gomez?
Aye.
McCall?
Aye.
McCransky?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye. Thank you, Pete. And I'll go to city manager reports.
In your packets, you have the July 2021 police pension report as well as the fire pension report. Also in there, we have gotten caught up a little bit better on our monthly financial reports, so you'll have May and June of 2021 in there. May will probably stand out a little bit more in terms of past reports because it's the first month of getting into the new budget, so you won't see as much for expenditures. The one thing I do want to point out, because I was very excited to see this, on the June report of 2021 for the sales tax, because this is one of the numbers we like to keep an eye on. The sales tax numbers for June of what we reported, which would be about 2 months behind, was the highest sales tax collected. The reports that we had go back to 2018, so it's the highest month we've seen. So think back a couple months still, so we haven't even hit that heavy summertime shopping. So this is great to see, not just for revenue in general for the city, but it has a huge impact on our street projects. So you're going to continue to see, a lot of construction with the streets, but I think it's much welcomed. So just as a note as well, because we like to keep an eye on the hotel motel in terms of kind of capturing what our tourism is looking like. Our hotel motel for June's report is also up considerably, considering what we were facing last year. So we're kind of getting back close to the 2018 numbers for sales tax collected there. So looking positive, and we haven't even hit Homestead weekend. So.
Yeah, and this Princeton sales tax number is all the more impressive in that January, February, March are typically the slowest 3 months of the year in sales tax revenue. In January, February, we blew the last 4 or 3 years. I mean, wasn't even close. I mean, our sales tax revenue was very impressive. But this one in March, about $210,000. That's just I don't know if we've ever had in March a number like that. So continue to shop Princeton first. Like Teresa said, it's going to continue to help our street program. Anything else? Okay, so I got under mayor report, got a board appointment.
I move that we appoint to the Pedestrian and Bicycle Commission Brittany Loudermilk to fill an unexpired term ending June 30th, 2023.
set a date for our electronics recycling day as October 16th. It'll be held exactly the same way it was last year out at the transfer station. So mark your calendars for the morning of October 16th. There'll be a flyer posted soon that lists out exactly everything you can bring out and what's not allowed. So, yep, I did, at the transfer station.
Any other new business?
Word of advice is dehumidifiers are not acceptable for electronic recycling or air conditioners because of the chemicals that are contained in those pieces of equipment. So, you know, I worked it last year and we had our fair share of dehumidifiers coming up and we cannot take them.
Giant copying machine.
The other thing that I've got under new business is this is our Homestead weekend is coming up. Homestead Festival weekend is coming up. It's by far the largest single event throughout Princeton and throughout Bureau County for the year. There's a kickoff to Homestead Thursday night. We have a street concert from 6 to 9 downtown at the Boat Drunks. Is a Jimmy Buffett tribute band. They've been here before. They are outstanding, so they're a really good band. Friday, large list of events occurring, including the unveiling of a star and flag for Keith Knudsen, who was a drummer for the Doobie Brothers, Princeton High School graduate, 1966. And the Doobie Others, which is a premier Doobie Brothers tribute band, is going to be playing up at Soldiers and Sailors Park on Friday night. Saturday, the parade will, the list goes on and on and on. There's so much going on the weekend. So it's going to be beautiful weather, it looks like, so everybody get out and have a great Homestead weekend. Any additional public comment? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn and reconvene.
I move that we adjourn our regular meeting this evening and reconvene again on Monday, September 20th, 2021, 7 p.m. at City Hall. Second.
Motion to second, call roll.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Gomez.
Aye.
McCall.
Aye.
Kransky.
Aye.
Mayor Query.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned, and thank you all very much for coming. Like to see this at every meeting.
Maybe, huh?